escape pod landing. Where am I?
It's the new Star Wars Land of the Jawas that you put together. Action figures sold separately.
Finally, in early 1978, Star Wars action figures were hitting the stores. Kids could now walk into a local store and walk out with at least 12 different Star Wars action figures. At the start, they were hard to find. As demand was high, stores would sell out before they could even put them on the shelves. As the months passed, Kenner was able to up production, and by the summer of 1978, kids and their parents had no real problems finding action figures needed to complete their collection. But by Christmas season of 1978, Kenner found himself once again unable to meet demand for Star Wars action figures. For the release of the second series of Star Wars figures in 1979, Kenner knew that the demand was there, so they went into full production, and it seemed everything was going great. That was until August 1979.
Now you can experience the Force again. Star Wars.
Here they come. Coming in too fast.
The original, legendary Star Wars is back.
20th Century Fox re-released Star Wars, as it was starting to gear up for the upcoming May release of its sequel, The Empire Strikes Back. Along with the re-release would be the first trailer for the new film. Plus, they had to remind kids about Star Wars as the 1979 holiday shopping season was starting to gear up. So not only would you get to see Star Wars again, you would also get the first trailer and get a special Kenner toy discount book.
And when you see the Star Wars movie at participating theaters, you get Kenner's cash refund booklet, good for refund coupons from 50 cents up to $2 each on 14 different Star Wars toys. Offer expires December 31st, 1979. Void where prohibited. Booklet has details.
Kenner knew that the re-release of Star Wars would push sales, and even the vice president of sales had a message for the Kenner sales team. 20th Century Fox was estimating that 10 million will have seen Star Wars by September the 5th. And that meant over 25 million Kenner Star Wars discounts books would be in the hands of the parents. The Kenner Sales newsletter let the Kenner sales team know that it would not be slowing down, as 13 more Star Wars episodes had already been written. Kenner was ready for Christmas season, and so were the kids. So much so that the sales would skyrocket during the final months of 1979. But it seems the increased buying of Star Wars meant once again some of the figures would be hard to find. And for 1979, at least in the Los Angeles, California area, that hard-to-find figure was the Stormtrooper. 21 Star Wars action figures were at store during the Christmas season, but it seems the most popular was the Stormtrooper. Lim Sunris of the Los Angeles Times reported that the Stormtrooper was unavailable at local toy stores. But why was that? Why the Stormtrooper? Why not the Power Droid? Dave Delaney, the director of public relations at Kenner, said they were getting reports of action figure shortages all over the country. In California, it was a Stormtrooper, but in the Midwest, it was R2-D2. And according to Dave, Darth Vader was the most popular of all the released 21 action figures. This was Kenner's second Christmas with problems of getting Star Wars to the kids by Christmas time. In 1977, they only had Star Wars board game, a few puzzles, and coloring books. And by 1978, they were still having problems with supplies when the Christmas season came around. Now here it was, 1979, and they had found themselves once again not being able to meet demand for at least some of the action figures. We have every other character but the Stormtrooper, says Sana Freeman from Hollywood Toys in Los Angeles. She would go ahead and lay some of the blame on the troop transporter, saying that the space vehicle used a lot of Stormtroopers, maybe 6, maybe even 8. It seems that the parents were buying up enough Stormtroopers to fill up the troop transporter. Out of a box of 28 figures in a case, according to Sandra, only 2 and 3 would be Stormtroopers. Bruce Livingston, manager of the Toy-Rama in Westwood, had a solution, but Kenner didn't seem to agree. They would only send 2 or 3 Stormtroopers in the box. They should sell them separately. My store doesn't have any, and I don't think we'll be getting any more, he told the Los Angeles Times. Kenner didn't think of letting stores order just the figures they needed was really a good plan. Dave Mullaney would explain that Kenner sold over 28 million figures in 1978, that it would be impossible to ship to the stores just the figures they needed. Dave predicted that over 26 million would be sold in 1979, and they had already produced all that was possible. The problem is, in the toy industry, you need to know when a toy is going to get hot. Every year you get some toy that is suddenly very hot, and there's not much you can do about it. You can't predict it. If a toy becomes popular during the Christmas season, there's no way to increase production in time for Christmas, David would go on to explain. On October 15, 1979, Kenner stopped production on the Star Wars action figures for 1979. Then they turned their focus to the Star Wars sequel. with plans to start showing them off at major trade shows at the first of 1980, with the production on the action figures to start up in March. It seems the August re-release pushed sales of Star Wars during the Christmas season more than even Kenner thought it would. Even the toy stores were shocked at the increase. We were able to see certain pickups of the figures after the re-release, Dave would say in his interview with the Los Angeles Times. He would go on to add, but we really don't know what makes a figure popular or not. It just happens this year, the most popular one is the Stormtrooper. It was one of the first 12 figures released last year. So what increased the sales of the now year-old Stormtrooper over the newer figures? Dave explained that maybe kids were buying Stormtroopers because every good guy they bought, they wanted to have a few Stormtroopers to attack him. But Kenner at least had some advice for the people looking for figures that they couldn't find, and it was the same advice that Kenner gave last year. Start shopping early. Dave said that Kenner hadn't received any angry phone calls from toy buyers, but he was pretty sure they would, as they did the year before. And those calls wouldn't stop until Christmas. It's a wonderful thing to have such a demand for Star Wars, but it's a nightmare to get them out, Dave would say. But was there more to it than just trying to meet demand? One phone call Dave got was from a news reporter from South Carolina, trying to get pictures of the fire that destroyed the Kenner factory for an upcoming story. Dave was very confused. He had not heard anything about a fire. So he asked the reporter more about it, and the reporter told him that he was told that there was a shortage of Star Wars figures because the company had a fire. Dave knew that this wasn't true. If there had been a major factory fire at Kenner, Dave for sure would have heard about it. Christmas 1979 came and went. Some kids were happy, some kids were a little sad, but the Stormtrooper shortage disappeared as quick as those cookies left out for Santa Claus. Kenner moved their focus to the release of The Empire Strikes Back and hoped that Christmas 1980 would be a lot different. Well, that's a look at the Stormtrooper shortage from 1979. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, thumb up so I know you like my content, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk again soon.
Junkman. Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.